So what is up, guys? Brandon Suter back, and today we are here with week Josh Allen, Phillip Rivers, Devontae Adams, and Robert Meacham. It is week 17. Now this is going to be released during the New Year, so Happy New Year, everyone. If you're looking to watch a certain matchup, timestamps are in the description box below, so click on that matchup you want to watch. Anyways, last week I had another excellent week, going 12 for 16. I'm telling you, it's the sweater, but new year, new me. Going to be rocking my classic, my favorite t-shirt right now. Anyways, 16 matchups to get to, so without further ado, let's get this video started. Alright, so we actually have no more Thursday Night Football matchups, as it's all Sunday this week, except for one Monday Night Football game. So we're starting off with our very first matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Tennessee Titans. Starting out with the Dolphins, I think what you did this season was incredible. Start the season 1-0, lose your next 7 in a row, and then win your next 7 in a row. You're the first team in NFL history to lose 7 in a row and also win 7 in a row in the same season. Now, on your 7-game win streak, you definitely beat up a lot of crappy teams, and your last victory was a 20-3 victory over a COVID-infected New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, not exactly that impressive, but Tua Tagovailoa threw for 198 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Lead rusher was Duke Johnson, 13 carries for 39 yards, followed by Phillip Lindsay, who had 36. So the rush game wasn't really that strong, but it was all in Jalen Waddle, as he had 10 receptions, 92 yards and a touchdown, followed by Matt Collins, 1 reception, 40 yards, then Durham Smythe with 3 receptions for 31 yards. The defense did an excellent job at shutting down the Saints, but we have a horrible receiving core. We're down to our 3rd and 4th string tight end, and basically a backup offensive line. So obviously your defense just tried to kill Ian Book. You made his life a living hell, and you easily pulled out a victory. And then the Titans, last week's victory was impressive. A sluggish first half followed up by a super strong second half. Ryan Tannehill threw for 209 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rusher was McNicholas with 31 yards, followed by Tannehill with 22. The only rushing touchdown went to Dante Foreman. But the best thing that happened to you last week was getting A.J. Brown back, as he ravaged the 49ers. 11 receptions, 145 yards and a touchdown, followed by Westbrook, 2 receptions, 38 yards, and then Anthony Firschker, 1 reception, 13 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense had a little bit of trouble in the first half, but really limited the 49ers in the second half in order to pull off a massive victory. Titans are 3.5-point favorites to win this one, and I'm actually going to say the Dolphins win. I'm going to say that they step up, beat a legitimate opponent, and increase their playoff odds a significant amount. And now you have our very next matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Buffalo Bills. Starting out with the Falcons, you won 20-16 over the Lions, but it was against Tim Boyle, so not all that impressive. Matt Ryan threw for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rusher was Mike Davis with 28 yards. Cordero Patterson followed that up with 14 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver, once again, was Kyle Pitts, 6 receptions, 102 yards. He's been doing really well this season. Only has 1 touchdown, though, but touchdowns don't always tell the full story. Followed by Russell Gage with 4 receptions for 39 yards, and then Zacchaeus, 2 receptions for 32 yards. Only one with a receiving touchdown was Hayden Hurst. The defense did a pretty solid job against the Lions. Now, you almost falconed the game away, but you got a clutch red zone pick to shut down the Lions. And then the Buffalo Bills, that was just a massive statement victory over the New England Patriots as you regain the division. Josh Allen probably played the best game of his career, threw for 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He also led rushing with 64 yards, followed by Devin Singletary with 39 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver, you were down Gabriel Davis, that was and Cole Beasley, but Isaiah McKenzie stepped up, 11 receptions, 125 yards and a touchdown, followed by Stephon Diggs, 7 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown, then Singletary, 5 receptions, 39 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a pretty good job at stopping the Patriots outside of Damian Harris. Damian Harris had his way with you, but overall, I'm super impressed. I'm glad I took you last week. I'm glad I saw you and get the upset. Now, Bills are 14.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup, a rematch of the 2017 AFC Championship game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots. Starting off the Jaguars, 2017 was just an absolute fluke, as you are just terrible again. Anyways, you lost 26-21 to the New York Jets. Trevor Lawrence threw for 280 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Not his worst performance, but not his best. Lead rusher was Agun Ball because James Robinson tore his Achilles and he's out for the season with 57 yards and a touchdown, and Trevor Lawrence had 37 yards. Lead receiver was Marvin Jones Jr., 8 receptions, 74 yards, followed by Tavon Austin, 6 receptions, 68 yards, and then Laquan Treadwell, 4 receptions, 54 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a solid job at shutting down the New York Jets. I mean, they did struggle against Michael Carter and Zach Wilson in terms of rushing, so that's the main thing I'm going to knock you guys for. I mean, you allowed 273 rushing yards, so that is a massive problem. But, I didn't really think you'd pull out a victory anyways. And then the Patriots, a tough loss to the Buffalo Bills. Mac Jones just looked terrible. 145 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks. Lead rusher was Damian Harris with 103 yards and 3 touchdowns. I wish he was there for me in fantasy. Oh, I'm still salty. I got eliminated a couple of weeks ago. Anyways, lead receiver was Jacoby Myers, 6 receptions, 59 yards, followed by Kendrick Bourne, 2 receptions, 33 yards, and then Brandon Bolden, 2 receptions, 20 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just struggled. Josh Allen did an excellent job against you guys, and you guys could not force a punt. Now, yeah, the Bills were going for it a lot on 4th down, but that's a big reason why they won. They converted on 4th down. They were aggressive. They made sure that you spent less time with the ball, and it was effective. I didn't say that in the Bills segment, but props to you at Buffalo for that. Anyways, Patriots are 16.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. I say Jacksonville keeps it close for some reason. And now you have our very next matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts. Starting out with the Raiders, a big 17-13 victory over the Denver Broncos. I mean, the Broncos aren't really all that good, but your playoff hopes are alive, so that's just as important. Anyways, Derek Carr threw for 201 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Not his best game, but not his worst at the same time. Lead rusher was Josh Jacobs with 129 yards, but the only one with a rushing touchdown was Peyton Barber with 22 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Foster Moreau in place of Darren Waller, 4 receptions, 67 yards, followed by Zay Jones, 6 receptions, 50 yards, and then Deshaun Jackson, 4 receptions, 44 yards. Only receiving touchdown went to Hunter Renfrow. The defense was excellent. I mean, you shut down Drew Lock, but more importantly, you shut down the rush game as you only allowed 18 rushing yards, which it kind of shocks me that Denver only ran the ball 16 times. Like, the way that they're going to win is that they ground and pound, but you just shut that down, so a lot of props out to you. And then the Colts, you got a bit of a scare this week because Carson Wentz did go out with COVID, but he should be back for this week. Anyways, Carson Wentz last week was excellent, threw for 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, came up in the clutch. Jonathan Taylor led rushing with 108 yards like usual. Lead receiver was Michael Pittman Jr., 8 receptions, 82 yards, followed by T.Y. Hilton, 4 receptions, 51 yards. Finish that off, Mo Alley-Cox, 2 receptions, 42 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a great job at shutting down the Arizona Cardinals and their air raid offense. So yeah, the Colts, a lot like the Dolphins, started out rough, but have rebounded nicely, although I do like the Colts a little bit more since they have beat some legitimate opponents. Come on, Miami. Want to see you beat someone legit. Anyways, but the Colts are 7-point favorites, and even if Carson Wentz doesn't play this week, I'll still take the Colts because Jonathan Taylor's just going to completely destroy the Raiders. Give me the Colts that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New York Jets. Starting out with the Buccaneers, like I said last week, after a tough loss to the Saints, you'll just beat up on Carolina. You did just that. You won 32-6. Tom Brady threw for 232 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, but it was all in the rush game, leading with Keyshawn Vaughn, 70 yards and a touchdown, followed by Ronald Jones with 65 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Antonio Brown. You had no Mike Evans and no Chris Godwin, but Brown stepped up, 10 receptions, 101 yards, followed by Grayson with 3 receptions for 81 yards, then Rob Gronkowski, 1 reception, 23 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense, yeah, like I said, made the Panthers' life a living hell. They were kind of going with a dual quarterback system with Cam Newton and Sam Darnold, and of course, that is just a complete fail. And then the Jets, a big victory last week over the Jacksonville Jaguars, 26-21. Zach Wilson threw for 102 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rusher was Michael Carter with 118 yards, followed by Zach Wilson with 91 yards and a touchdown because Wilson just had an epic sideline scramble for a touchdown. So it's kind of fun to see that. But anyways, lead receiver was Braxton Berrios with 5 receptions for 37 yards, followed by Tyler Kroft, 3 receptions, 29 yards, then Keelan Cole with 2 receptions, 29 yards. That was pretty much it. I'm pretty sure Berrios even had a kick return for a touchdown, so that was a big factor why you won. Defense struggled a little bit against Jacksonville, but eventually shut them down on the final drive, so excellent job to you guys. Buccaneers are 13-point favorites, and if there's one thing I know Tom Brady loves, it's victimizing the New York Jets. So yeah, Buccaneers win and cover the spread. In these massive spread games, the Buccaneers will always cover, so give me that. And now you have our very next matchup between the LA Rams and the Baltimore Ravens. Starting out with the Rams, a crucial 30-23 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. Although Matt Stafford was absolutely terrible in this game, threw for 197 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. Yikes. But it was made up for it by a strong rushing attack from Sony Michel with 131 yards and a touchdown. A lead receiver, who wouldn't you guess it, Cooper Kupp, 10 receptions, 109 yards, followed by Tyler Higbee, 5 receptions, 41 yards, then Odell Beckham Jr., 4 receptions, 37 yards, and a touchdown, proving he's not the problem in Cleveland, but I'll get to that later. The defense definitely struggled a little bit against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, they didn't even have Dalvin Cook, but, you still put out a victory nonetheless, so good job, just to get that division lead back. And then the Ravens, yeah, it's panic time. You got creamed by the Cincinnati Bengals, 41-21. John Johnson actually played a pretty solid game, threw for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Now, how much of that was in garbage time? Probably a decent chunk. Then lead rusher was Devontae Freeman with 17 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Mark Andrews, like always, 8 receptions, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Followed by Proche, the second, with 7 receptions for 76 yards. Then Hollywood Brown, 5 receptions, 44 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense, whoa. Your defense was crippled to hell and back, and it showed as Joe Burrow just lit the skies on fire against you. Just absolute pain. Honestly, if you make the playoffs, I think you're just going to get blown out, because with a defense like that, there's no hope. Anyways, Rams are 5.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. Even though Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley could be cleared to play this week, I still will take the Rams. And now you have our very next matchup, a classic NFC East rivalry between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington football team. Starting out with the Eagles, it's good to beat up on a pretend football team like the New York Giants with a 34-10 victory, as you're currently the 7th seed in the playoffs. That's pretty impressive. Jalen Hurts threw for 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Surprisingly, the air game was more dominant than the ground game, which, big shocker, but still won. But if you could do that against a legit team, I will give legit props to you. Anyways, enough with legit. Lead rusher was Miles Sanders with 45 yards and a touchdown, followed by Boston Scott with 41 yards and a touchdown, always doing what he does best, show up only against the New York Giants. Anyways, lead receiver was Devontae Smith, 5 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown, followed by Quez Watkins, 3 receptions, 43 yards, and then Dallas Goedert, 2 receptions, 28 yards. Your only other touchdown went to your tackle, Lane Johnson, so that was pretty cool. There was a lot of big guy touchdowns this week, which was... It's always a good sight to see. Anyways, the defense, don't really have to say much. You just completely made Jake Fromm and Mike Glennon's life a living hell, so that's enough. And then the football team. Oh my god. I thought the Ravens massacre was bad. This was even worse. You lost 56-14 to the Dallas Cowboys. They were up 42-7 at half. Taylor Heineke was terrible. 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So Kyle Allen comes in, throws for 67 yards and a touchdown. Lead rusher was Patterson with 33, and then Gibson with 29. Lead receiver was Brown, 2 receptions, 53 yards, followed by Bates, 2 receptions, 45 yards and a touchdown, and then Scary Terry, 3 receptions, 40 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense, wow. The defense and special teams was just completely destroyed by the Cowboys. This is why in the later parts of the season, I was having doubts about you being a playoff team. Now, I thought you would win your division, mainly because I didn't know how Dallas would do with Dak Prescott back. Would Prescott be 100%, or would he be a shell of his former self? But yeah. Anyways, Eagles are 4.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears. Starting off with the Giants, that was just an embarrassment against the Philadelphia Eagles. There are changes that need to be made. Now, Daniel Jones and Joe Judge are expected to stick around, but at least fire Dave Gettleman. Just get rid of Dave Gettleman. Anyways, Mike Glennon was terrible, threw for 93 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Jake Fromm actually started. He only threw for 25 yards and a pick, so that's why Mike Glennon got majority of the snaps. Anyways, lead rush was Saquon Barkley with 32 yards, followed by Devontae Booker with 27 yards. Lead receiver was Kadarius Toney, 4 receptions, 28 yards, followed by Kenny Golladay, 3 receptions, 22 yards. Man, you know what? You know what everyone here has in common with Kenny Golladay? No receiving touchdowns this year. At least at the NFL level. Unless any NFL players are watching and have a receiving touchdown, which I doubt. Then Devontae Booker, 4 receptions, 19 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just got destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was more of a pass attack than a ground attack, so that was definitely a massive shocker to me. And then the Bears, wow. 25-24 victory over the Seattle Seahawks. Nick Foles, man, he does what he does best. Comes out of nowhere and will stun you. As he threw for 250 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Lead rusher was David Montgomery with 45 yards and a touchdown, followed by Khalil Herbert with 21 yards and a touchdown. Dave Montgomery was also your lead receiver with 7 receptions for 61 yards, followed by Darnell Mooney, 5 receptions, 57 yards. Cole Kmet, 4 receptions, 49 yards. Then Jimmy Graham, 2 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown. And then, obviously, when Jimmy Graham scored the touchdown, the Bears went for 2, and it was a successful pass to Damiere Byrd, as it just completely showed that there needs to be change in Seattle. The defense did an excellent job they struggled against the Seahawks for the first 3 quarters, but in usual Seahawks fashion, they check out at the end, and you were just able to shut that down. Anyways, Bears are 6.5-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread, because it's going to be Mike Glennon. what else could you expect? And now you have our very next matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams put on an absolute ass-kicking clinic last week against AFC North teams. Starting out with the Chiefs, won 36-10 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Patrick Mahomes threw for 258 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Eventually, they put in Chad Henne because it was just such a blowout, and they just abused the run. Darrell Williams is your lead rusher with 55 yards, followed by Gore with 43 yards, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 27 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was not Tyreek Hill. I mean, Travis Kelce was out with COVID, but it was actually Byron Pringle. 6 receptions, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns, followed by Gore with 3 receptions, 61 yards, and then McCole Hardman, 3 receptions, 31 yards, and a touchdown. The defense just made Big Ben's life a living hell as they had to sub in Mason Rudolph. So good victory for you guys, standing atop the AFC. And then the Bengals, wow, just a clinic against the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Burrow threw for 525 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Now, I did shame Burrow just a little bit because, it was against the Ravens defense, but nonetheless, 500 yards in a game is excellent, so I can't knock him too much for that. Lead rusher was Joe Mixon with 65 yards and a touchdown, but the main guy was not Jamar Chase. It was T. Higgins, 12 receptions, 194 yards, and 2 touchdowns, followed by Jamar Chase, 7 receptions, 125 yards. Then Tyler Boyd, 3 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown. Joe Mixon, 6 receptions, 70 yards and a touchdown. Then finished it off C.J. Uzomah with 5 receptions, 36 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just shut down the Ravens. Sure, they did give up 21 points, but in the end, they didn't stand a chance against you. Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites to win this one, and I'm going to say that the Chiefs win and cover the spread, because I'm going to say that, the Bengals have been inconsistent this season, and this is the week where they're going to show their inconsistency and get their asses kicked. And now you have our very first 4 o'clock matchup, a classic AFC West rivalry between the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers. Starting off with the Broncos, tough 17-13 loss to the Las Vegas Raiders. Drew Lock threw for 153 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. The main disappointment was the rush game, as it got nothing going. Javonte Williams only had 12 yards and a touchdown, followed by Drew Lock with 10 yards, and then Melvin Gordon with -4. That's not good. Lead receiver was Jerry Jeudy, 3 receptions, 60 yards, followed by Cortland Sutton, 4 receptions, 33 yards, and then Noah Fant, 3 receptions, 30 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a solid job at limiting the Raiders as much as possible, but in the end, both teams were bad, but the Raiders were less bad. And that's all it took for them. And then the Chargers, I'm struggling to figure out how you could be a playoff team with the consistency you have. Because in the NFL playoffs, one off game and playoff hopes are gone. You can't win the Super Bowl. And your inconsistency showed against the Houston Texans as you lost 43-29. Justin Herbert threw for 336 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. Lead rusher was Justin Jackson with 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was also your lead receiver with 8 receptions for 98 yards. Followed by Moore, 3 receptions, 56 yards, and then Jared Cook, 3 receptions, 44 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just got absolutely scored by Davis Mills and Rex Burkhead. So that is just massive flaws were exposed on you guys. But Chargers are 7.5-point favorites to win this one. And following with their inconsistency schedule, this is the week where they light the skies on fire. So give me the Chargers that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup between the Houston Texans and the San Francisco 49ers. Starting off the Texans, wow. Maybe one of the biggest upsets of the season with a 41-29 victory over the LA Chargers. Davis Mills, is he the real deal in Houston now? Because the last few games he's played, he's been excellent. This time he threw for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Lead rusher was Rex Burkhead with 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lead receiver was not Brandon Cooks. It was Chris Conley, 3 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Brandon Jordan, 4 receptions, 56 yards, and then Philip Dorsett, 3 receptions, 55 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense was able to do a good job against the Chargers. Sure, they put up 29 points, but you had a crucial pick 6 to seal the game. Now, yes, both squads were plagued by COVID, and that was definitely a reason why the Chargers lost, but it's not the sole reason, because the Texans also dealt with as much COVID. So, yeah. Is what it is in the end. And then the 49ers, a tough 20-17 loss to the Tennessee Titans. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 322 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. He might not be available this game, so incoming in will be Trey Lance. Lead rusher was Jeff Wilson Jr. with 45 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Deebo Samuel, 9 receptions, 159 yards. Followed by Kyle Juszczyk, 3 receptions, 45 yards. And then Brandon Ayuk, 4 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. So, yeah, the defense did a solid job in the first half against the Tennessee Titans, but fell apart in the second half, and that was ultimately what led to your loss. 49ers are 12-point favorites to win this one, and even with Trey Lance, I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread, because Davis Mills has been doing pretty well recently, so I say he keeps it close. And now you have our very next matchup between the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys. Starting out with the Cardinals, last week against the Colts, and honestly the last few weeks have just completely shown what the Cliff Kingsbury era has been like in the last 2 years, which is excellent starts to the season, followed up by massive inconsistency that leave many questions to be answered for the team. And that was no exception here, as he lost 22-16 to the Indianapolis Colts. Kyler Murray threw for 254 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He also led rushing with 74 yards. But then you had Chase Edmonds with 56 and a touchdown. Lead receiver was also Chase Edmonds, 8 receptions, 71 yards, followed by Zach Ertz, 8 receptions, 54 yards, and then Christian Kirk, 7 receptions, 48 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did an okay job against the Colts. I mean, you didn't allow a Jonathan Taylor touchdown, but Carson Wentz came up in the clutch against your defense. So, yeah, you guys might be in a little bit of trouble going into the playoffs. And then the Cowboys, a big 56-14 victory over the Washington football team. Dak Prescott threw for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. They eventually took him out for Cooper Rush, who threw 70 yards and a touchdown. So also a good game for him. Lead rusher was Ezekiel Elliott with 37 yards and a touchdown, followed by Tony Pollard with 34. The rush game didn't really, wasn't all that much, but it was all in the receiving game and defense and special teams, as Amari Cooper led with 7 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown, followed by Turner, 3 receptions, 82 yards and a touchdown. Then Dalton Schultz, 8 receptions, 82 yards and a touchdown. The defense, like I said, just made the football team's life a living hell, especially with a DeMarcus Lawrence pick 6 and a blocked punt return for a touchdown. So, yeah, that was just a clinic and a half. Cowboys are 6-point favorites to win this one. And fun fact, Kyler Murray has never lost a game at AT&T Stadium. Now, that's including high school, college, and NFL career. But I'm going to say that streak comes to an end with a Cowboys win as they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup, a rematch of the 2016 NFC wildcard game between the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks. Starting out with the Lions, a tough 20-16 loss to the Atlanta Falcons, although you kept it a lot closer than I thought, considering that Tim Boyle was your QB, as he threw for 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Lead rusher was Jamal Williams with 77 yards. Lead receiver has been Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been breaking out the last few weeks. 9 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Josh Reynolds, 2 receptions, 36 yards, then Caleb Reynolds, 3 receptions, 22 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a solid job against the Atlanta Falcons, nearly forced them to falcon the game away, but you threw a pick as time was running out, so that led to your loss. And then the Seahawks, the 25-24 loss against the Chicago Bears proved that things need to change in Seattle. Definitely time for a rebuild. Obviously firing Pete Carroll, but that's kind of obvious at this point. But if you really want to embrace the rebuild, trade away Russell Wilson. Because you want to trade him now, well, he still has a significant amount of trade value. You don't want to end up like the Blue Jays with Josh Donaldson or the Arizona Diamondbacks with Robbie Ray, where they waited way too long to trade them out. And once they did, both teams got next to nothing for them. And it was just an absolute fleece for the teams that traded for those guys. Anyways, Russell Wilson threw for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was actually pretty solid. Lead rusher was Rashad Penny. He was looking like a bust in his first 2 seasons, but recently he's been breaking out as he had 135 yards and a touchdown, followed by lead receiver was Gerald Everett, 4 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown, followed by DK Metcalf, 2 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown, then Tyler Lockett, 3 receptions, 30 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did a solid job against the Bears in the first half, but utterly collapsed in the second half. So that definitely hurts you guys. But Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites to win this one, and a lot like the 2016 wildcard game, Seahawks win and cover the spread. And now you have our final 4 o'clock matchup, a classic NFC South rivalry, and a rematch of the 2017 NFC wildcard game between the Carolina Panthers and my boys in the New Orleans Saints. 2017 wildcard game will go down as one of my favorite Saints games from the call. Blitz, a sack, Saints win. Anyway, starting out with the Panthers, both teams got creamed last week, but Panthers got creamed by the Buccaneers 32-6. Sam Darnold threw for 190 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. And when Cam Newton was in, he threw for 61 yards and a pick. So that you guys have maybe one of the worst QB rooms in the NFL. So yeah, that's got to change next year. Anyways, Cam Newton was also your lead rusher with 42 yards. Lead receiver was Smith, 3 receptions, 86 yards, followed by Robbie Anderson, 5 receptions, 58 yards. And then DJ Moore, 5 receptions, 58 yards as well. So yeah, The defense, just got completely destroyed by the Buccaneers, mainly by Antonio Brown, Tom Brady, Keyshawn Vaughn, and Ronald Jones. So yeah, tough loss for you guys as there's major problems in Carolina that need to be fixed, including Matt Rule, but I'm not sure if he's going to get fired. I think he should, but I don't think he will. And then the Saints, yikes. Like, COVID just completely plagued us against the Miami Dolphins as we lost 20-3. Ian Book in his first start was just absolutely killed. Threw for 135 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. A lot of people might blame him, but he had a backup offensive line and got sacked 8 times in his debut. So if he were to retire after this, I wouldn't blame him. Anyways, lead rusher was Alvin Kamara with 52 yards, followed by Mark Ingram with 17. Lead receiver was Little Jordan Humphrey, 3 receptions, 70 yards, followed by Marquez Callaway, 4 receptions, 46 yards, and then Ethan Wolf, 2 receptions, 8 yards. I had no idea who Ian Wolf was. Well, I do now, but before the game, I had no idea who he was. The defense actually did a pretty solid job against the Miami Dolphins, considering we were missing all 3 starting linebackers, and we only gave up 13 points on defense because 7 of the Dolphins' points was from a pick 6. Anyway, Saints are 6.5-point favorites to win this one, and I want to keep our playoff hopes alive. So Saints win and cover this. And now you have our Sunday Night Football matchup, a classic NFC North rivalry between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Starting out with the Vikings, you guys are going to be in a lot of trouble for this. You lost 30-23 to the LA Rams, and Kirk Cousins will be out of this game due to COVID. So maybe give Kellen Mond a shot. Nope, Sean Mannion gets the start. So that's going to be a massive problem. Kirk Cousins threw for 315 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick last game. Now, I know the narrative is to blame Kirk Cousins, but honestly, give the man a little bit of respect. I think he played a very solid game. I don't think he's a problem on Minnesota, but not the problem. I mean, Kirk Cousins is a slight problem, as it's Mike Zimmer. Man needs to go. Mattinson was your lead rusher with 41 yards and a touchdown. Lead receiver was Justin Jefferson, 8 receptions, 116 yards, followed by KJ Osborne, 5 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Then Tyler Conklin, 4 receptions, 44 yards. That was pretty much it. A big loss for you guys is that Thielen is going to be out for the rest of the season. So with no Cousins and no Thielen for this game, those playoff hopes are slowly deteriorating. The defense did an okay job against the Rams, got 3 picks off Matt Stafford, but in the end, the Rams just emerged victorious. And then the Packers, a big 24-22 victory over the Cleveland Browns. Aaron Rodgers threw for 202 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Right now, he's clearly the MVP frontrunner. Lead rusher was Aaron Jones with 66 yards, followed by A.J. Dillon with 41. Lead receiver was Devontae Adams, just doing what he does best, kicking teams' asses. 10 receptions, 114 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Alan Lazard, 2 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty much it. The defense did a solid job against the Browns. Sure, they struggled against Nick Chubb, but they picked off Baker Mayfield 4 times. So, that was definitely a big factor that led into your victory. So, obviously, with Kirk Cousins out, Packers are 13-point favorites to win this one. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our Monday Night Football matchup, classic AFC North rivalry, and a rematch of the 2020 AFC wildcard game between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting off with the Browns, tough 24-22 loss to the Green Bay Packers. You guys have been a massive letdown this season, but mainly Baker Mayfield has been a huge letdown. Threw for 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, and he was actually receiving death threats. So honestly, I don't care how bad Baker Mayfield has been. You don't threaten someone with death. That's extreme. But anyways, lead rusher was Nick Chubb with 126 yards and a touchdown. He was also a lead receiver with 58 yards. Followed that up with Rashard Higgins, 5 receptions, 58 yards, and then Juice Landry, 4 receptions, 55 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense did an okay job only limiting the Packers to 24 points, but in the end, your offense failed you at the most crucial time. And then the Steelers, you guys just got creamed by the Kansas City Chiefs. Ben Roethlisberger threw for 159 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Now, in interviews, he's saying that all signs are pointing to this being his final game at Heinz Field, as he's I think he's going to retire after the season. Lead rusher was Najee Harris with 93 yards. Lead receiver was Deontay Johnson, 6 receptions, 51 yards, and a touchdown, followed by Chase Claypool, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and then Gentry, 4 receptions, 31 yards. That was pretty much it. The defense just got scored by the Kansas City Chiefs. So that is definitely a huge... That was a huge factor on why you lost. And Ben Roethlisberger being as mobile as a tree was also a big factor. Browns are 3-point favorites to win this one, but you know what? If this is going to be Ben Roethlisberger's last game as a Pittsburgh Steeler, or possibly his last start at Heinz Field, unless they make the playoffs, I think he's going to go out with a bang, doing what he does best, beating up on the Cleveland Browns, Give me the Steelers with an upset win as Ben Roethlisberger walks out a hero. And that is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to watch my Dolphins and Saints recap, click right over here. If you like this video, drop a like, subscribe to my channel by clicking over here, or the subscribe button down below. It would mean a whole lot to me. Make sure to comment down below what your thoughts are for Week 17. Who's your upset of the week, lock of the week, and is your favorite team going to win? Follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, @BrandonSuter. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Who Dat Nation in 2022 is out.